If you're ready to make a big purchase and you're needing to take out a loan, how much do you qualify for, and do you even really know? Today, we're going to talk to our money guy, Tony Walz with Town & Country Credit Union, to kind of help prepare us. Welcome back to North Dakota Today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
It's a great question. You know, I need some money. How much money is the bank going to give me?
You know, we've talked about for weeks on end credit scores, how to fix credit scores, but it's not always about the credit score. If you come to me and you have an 840 score, which is rock star credit, that doesn't mean you're going to get every loan. There's other factors that go in, so I just want to remind people that it is just not based on credit score.
Okay, so what are some of the other factors? Because you're right, you know, credit score does get a lot of attention.
It does, and sometimes a little too much. It's going to determine the rate and everything else, but the other things we look at is debt to income ratio is a big one. So basically what that is, if you make $1,000 a month and you owe $400 a month in bills, your debt to income ratio is 40%. So we like to keep that number 40% or lower. So if you have a perfect credit score and you make, just for math purposes, $1,000 a month and you want to borrow $50,000, it's just not going to happen because you have to be able to afford that payment in your monthly debt to income ratio. And I think a lot of times people forget that. I've had people, well, you know, I've never missed a bill, I have perfect credit. Yes, I understand, but this is going to put you in a bad situation where it doesn't look like on paper you could afford the payments on there. So we really need to make sure that we keep that in mind, that debt to income ratio is a huge factor when it goes into how much do I qualify for.
Okay. And how about the value? You said, you know, $50,000, say you want a $50,000 boat. I mean, the value of what you're buying as well plays into what you're going to get, right?
Absolutely. Especially we kind of see these crazy used car prices right now. The used car market is just going through the roof. I've never seen anything like it. So let's say you have a $20,000 loan and maybe car prices slide back a little and you want to trade it off and they're going to give you $16,000 for it. So you're upside down. If you go to get a new car that's worth $10,000 but you want a $14,000 loan, that's going to be an issue too, because when we look at loan to value on vehicles, the max we go is typically right around 100% if everything else is in line. So I can't loan you $15,000 on a $10,000 car. So we also have to keep loan to value in mind. And that goes with boats and that goes with motorcycles and everything else. Sometimes, especially on motorcycles.
I was just going to say that. Yep. I've got a loan for a motorcycle. That gets a little tricky where I think it's worth more than it is on paper.
You know, if you find the right person, it's probably worth every penny of it. Yeah. But you know, you go by the book value, and again, let's just for math say it's 10 grand, but you have all the extra bells and whistles on it, and you're like, well, this is worth 15. To the right person it is, but on paper, the make and the model and the year is still X amount, 10,000. So we could do a loan for 10. You might have to come in with 5 if you find that perfect bike you want. Okay. So we just want to make sure that we kind of keep rational expectations in, where it's just not, hey, I've got an 840 credit score, give me a blank check.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that way.
I wish it worked like that.
I do too on my end when I go borrow money.
And there are different types of loans. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. We talked about collateral loans. That is basically when a car loan, I mean, use the car as collateral, the boat as collateral. We've talked about home equity loans in the past. Now, typically in a home equity loan, you know, if your house is worth $200,000, I can't loan probably up to $200,000, maybe 90 or 80%, depending on that. So keep that in mind. And I think the big one that we come across is the unsecured loans. So usually that's just kind of a signature loan based on your credit and your income. So if I make $2 grand a month, maybe I can qualify for $5 grand or $6 grand, maybe 3 months worth of income, depending on the other things. So a lot of factors go into that. So if I make 25 grand a year, I can't walk in and, well, you can ask for anything you want, but you know, you come in and ask for 25 grand unsecured loan and you make 25 grand, that's obviously probably not going to happen. So just keep in mind the other factors that play in. It's not just credit score, though that's a big part. It's debt to income ratio. It's where's the value at? Is my income showing there too? One of the things we run into, you know, I used to bartend back in the day part-time, and And, you know, if you make $200 in a night, and you might, some people have been known to maybe say they make 50. So at the end of the year, you might make 30, 40 grand, but on paper it shows 15. So we do have to use what's on the tax returns on commission jobs for the last 2 years. So that's another thing. So even though we know the government gets more than their fair share, it's what we can prove in income. So you have to keep that in mind too.
Okay, Tony, as always, great advice. Thank you so much for coming in. Tony Walz with Town and Country. Coming up on North Dakota Today, keeping you and your loved ones away from scammers.